أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم تسليماً كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the importance of protecting ourselves and our families. And this might be the strongest ayah regarding taking care of our families. So this is a direct command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking us to make a wiqaya, to protect ourselves and our families from the hellfire. Now, what you notice in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and He says, this fire, the fuel of this fire is people and rocks and stones. And on top of that, the guards of the fire are mighty angels, malaikatun ghilaz, strong, mighty angels, malaikatun ghilazun shidad. La ya'sun Allah ma amarahum, they will never disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever He commands them to do, they will do. Wa yaf'aluna ma yu'marun, and they will follow orders. Initially, when you read this ayah, it might strike you that it is so strong or even harsh, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, and He gives us this visual picture of the hellfire. But here, Wallahu alam, there's a secret, and that is the fact that protecting our family is not a small deal. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And for the people who don't take it seriously, this ayah should be a wake-up call. Because I know a lot of people might talk about it, but when it comes to implementation, not many people, by the way, do a good job raising a family. Raising a family that will be protected from the hellfire. So now you can make the connection that this is something that is really essential to my salvation. It is really essential to my salvation to raise my family in a proper manner. And not just do, the bare minimum and thinking that I am okay, I am taking care of my family, and I am, Islamically raising my family and so forth. There's much more to it, as we're going to see. We also know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. That each and every one of you is a shepherd, a caretaker, if you will. Ra', someone who's a caretaker. And each one of you is responsible for his flock, or whatever you call it, whatever you're responsible for, your dependents. You are responsible for them. Mas'ul an ra'iyatih. And then he gave us some examples. Specifically, he mentioned the husband and the wife. So he said, وَالرَّجُلُ رَاعٍ فِي أَهْلِهِ وَهُوَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. That the man is a caretaker in his family, and he's responsible for that. Likewise, the woman, the wife, is responsible in her household, and she is asked or accountable for such a responsibility. And this is why I say in Islam we don't have any sheep. We're all, in one way or another, in one capacity or another, we are shepherds. We are taking care of something. There's no one who does not have any responsibility. Even the children have some form of a responsibility. And this idea or this, feeling that you're not responsible until a certain age, and now we start negotiating that age, well, you're not responsible until 25 or 30, is a big problem. Because it will never raise real people. It will raise dependent people. Now the question is, well, okay, what are some steps? And here I don't have time to go over many, but inshallah I'll summarize maybe 5 or 6 different steps in order, inshallah, to raise our families in a proper manner and hopefully to protect ourselves and our families from the hellfire. And I'm sure each and every one of you will come up with more steps. The number one responsibility for the parent, and when I say the parent, it's both the father and the mother. And of course, there is a sharing of a responsibility. It's not really identical. In many cases, it could be complementary to each other. So the first responsibility, which is natural before it is Islamic, is the fact that you have to spend on your family. That you have to work to provide for your family. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُضَيَّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ. Because guess what? Even on that front, some people mess up. And they don't do a good job providing for their families, either because of laziness or some other excuse. But here the Prophet ﷺ said, it is sufficient a sin to forsake the people that depend on you. Like depend on you for food, for livelihood. If you forsake them, for example, you don't spend on them, or let's say maybe you're separated and you feel like you can get away with your alimony or the child support, for example. And if legally you have a good lawyer, maybe you can get away with it and you don't spend on your children. But the Prophet ﷺ said, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُضَيَّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ. Islamically, it's a sin to forsake the people that depend on you. And this is the bare minimum requirement, that you provide them a decent house, a decent shelter, roof above their head, decent food, decent education, and so forth. Now, along with that, and that is really important because we're talking here about the Islamic way of raising people, or raising children, and raising a family. So it's not just going and getting the money from any source possible, like some people do, unfortunately. But you have to make sure, try your best to make sure that it is a halal source. And you're doing a favor to your children when you do that. Now, I'm not saying that the children are responsible. If for some reason you choose to go and seek your livelihood from a haram source, your children are not responsible. لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. Because they're getting their money from a halal way, from a halal process, which is taking it from the father. That's a halal process. You getting it from a haram source, it's your fault, your responsibility, your sin. But still, you want to provide at-tayyib, you want to provide what is halal, what is legal. And that brings barakah to the whole family. And that's part of the father's responsibility specifically. The Prophet ﷺ told us about a case where a man is traveling in the desert. And when you travel, usually the dua is accepted. It's one of the ways, one of the reasons why the dua is accepted, that you are a musafir, you are a traveler. However, there's a problem with this traveler. He said, ثم ذكر الرجل أشعث أغبر يطيل السفر يمد يديه إلى السماء يقول يا رب يا رب So the Prophet ﷺ is describing this man who is traveling. He's been traveling for a long time. He's tired, exhausted, his hair unmade, dust all over his body, his clothing, aghbar. And at the same time, he's raising his hands, like extending his hands to the heavens. Not just making a small dua, like when you do this, you're serious, right? يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. And he's like invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, invoking lafzul jalala, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, O Lord, O Lord. In essence, you could, just stop in here, you could say, well, mashallah, this man has encompassed all of the reasons for the dua to be answered. And now the Prophet says the following, however, وَلَكِنَّ مَطْعَمَهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَشْرَبَهُ حَرَامٌ وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. Yes, he got all of that, but his livelihood is from haram, his food is from haram. And haram is not just stealing, as some people think. It could be cheating, could be ripping people off, could be selling expired food items, all of that. And there are many, many examples, and unfortunately Muslims, sometimes, some of them at least, are involved in that. If you cheat someone and you think you can get away with it, remember, you cannot get away with it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we know that in theory, but in practice, some people still do it. And that's a big, big problem. Because some people wonder, oh, how come my kids are so, lost and they're defying me and they don't listen to me and they disobey me. And they forget about this. They forget about the fact that your dua may not be accepted at all because of this. Because your income is not halal. And now, mashallah, we have lots of creativity when it comes to dua. But we don't look at the reasons the dua is not answered. We don't look at mawani' dua. What are the stoppers? And by the way, this is a terminology, this is a vocabulary that the scholars use. Mawani' dua. There are things that can block the dua, literally block the dua. And we don't spend any time on that. We're just focused on these fancy long dua for 20, 30, we count now. How long did it take? 45 minutes dua, mashallah. Well, maybe there's a thing you're doing that is blocking your dua. So let's watch for that, inshallah. The next important thing when it comes to raising our kids, and I want to focus on the fathers because I think by nature, mashallah, most mothers do a good job. More or less, obviously there are things they have to improve. And some things they don't do Islamically, for example. But overall, by nature, they feel the responsibility. They feel that these children are their responsibility. But not all fathers feel that way. One important pillar in raising children Islamically is at-ta'lim wa at-ta'dib, is to teach them. See, one of the frustrating things I see in masajid, in mosques, especially when you go to weekend schools, you go and you want to teach, and you end up with kids with no etiquettes, with no mannerisms whatsoever. And this is really not the job of the masjid. It's not the job of the teacher. It's not the job of the imam. It is the job of the household. It is the job of the father and the mother. The teacher in the weekend school or the masjid cannot waste his time telling this person, please be silent, please don't talk, please don't say a foul word. That is the job of the parent. You can't just go drive by the masjid, drop your kids. You don't even bother to get down and go and learn who the teachers are. You don't even know who the teachers are. You feel like you fulfilled your responsibility just by dropping them. You barely put the car on park because you're in a hurry. Maybe you want to go do some shopping and now this is like a babysitting place for you. This cannot be the case. You have to share the responsibility. In fact, it is the primary responsibility of the parents doing these two things. Teaching them basic knowledge about Islam, how to pray, how to fast, how to clean themselves. Wallahi, it's a disaster sometimes when you go to some Muslim restrooms and you see how the kids do. And you know for sure nobody has taught them the basic etiquettes of using the restroom. I mean, how can you pray if you don't know how to clean yourself? And I'm ashamed to say this on the minbar, but we have to, because I've seen it so many times. And this is part and parcel of raising your kids in an Islamic way. The Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, من كان له ثلاث بنات فعلمهن وأدبهن واتقى الله فيهن فله الجنة. It's a promise from the Prophet ﷺ that if you have, especially daughters, that you raise them, you teach them manners, you teach them basic Islamic knowledge. And there's a guarantee from the Prophet ﷺ that you will go to Jannah because of that. Another important pillar is to spend time with them. And when I say it, it sounds simple, but guess what? Most people don't do it. Muslims and non-Muslims. And this is nothing fancy. This is just sitting with them and listening to them. Like even when we sit down, we're not really listening. Like we're physically there, but mentally we're somewhere else. Either checking your phone, your email, your social media, and the kid might be talking and they're so excited and you're somewhere else. You don't even show, and they can tell. You know, kids are so smart. They can tell right away if you're listening or not. And you say, well, no, I'm here. No, you're not here. You're somewhere else. And it's crushing to the kid who's trying to tell you something, trying to tell you a story, something that happened in school, maybe a problem they're dealing with, and they're wanting you, they're expecting you to come with a solution. Because if you don't do it, guess what? Someone else will. And they're not going to give them the good advice, the authentic, the honest advice that you're going to be able to give. Because also, this is a message for the kids. No one will ever love you like your parents. I don't care how much you like your friends, your acquaintances, the people you think they're cool and popular. No one will ever love you like your parents. So it's a shared responsibility. Also, the children have to understand that even when the parents are tough, it is for their own sake. It is for their own benefit. Inshallah, if you can come forward a little bit, because we're getting tight in the back. And this kind of yields to my next and maybe last advice, because we're running out of time. Otherwise, there are plenty of examples. Yes, we have to be, in some cases at least, we have to be strict. And there's a difference between harsh and firm. A lot of people mistake the two. And this kind of leads to my next point. We have to show mercy. Because some parents, out of their concern, very legitimate concern, they turn to be very harsh. And it's probably more common among the Arabs. I'm an Arab, so you can't really say I'm a racist. But being harsh is not the right way to raise kids. Because it will bring the worst out of them. And it turns into some form of a back and forth, even like a revenge. You want to take revenge sometimes. And that's totally the wrong approach. We have to show mercy. So yeah, we have to be firm, but at the same time, we have to be merciful. One time a man came to the Prophet. He was a Bedouin. And the Bedouins, by nature, are a little harsher because of the nature or the type of work they do. So this man was sitting down and observing the Prophet ﷺ, and he noticed that he kissed one of his grandchildren. And the Bedouin immediately made a remark. He said, I have like 10 children, and in my whole life, I never kissed one of them. And you know what the Prophet said ﷺ? He said, أَوَ أَمْلِكُ أَن نَزَعَ اللَّهُ الرَّحْمَةَ مِنْ قَلْبِكَ? Can I do anything if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took mercy out of your heart? So don't think this is like toughness. This is, if you think you're some tough guy, some macho, something, don't do that on your kids. You gotta show mercy. Even when we discipline them, the reason we discipline them is out of mercy, not out of, showing who's a tough guy, showing who's a man of the house. Like, I'm the man of the house and everything I say should go. This is the kind of mentality we have in many cases. And like I said, this brings the worst out of children sometimes. Because they want to spite you, they want to do the opposite. That's why many children want to do that. Because now as they grow, they're realizing that I am my own entity, I have my own identity. And don't challenge that. Because this is me, I'm not you, I'm different. This is the kind of psychology that goes in their head, and we have to respect that. But at the same time, we have to, because of our years of experience, because of our experience in life, we have to guide them. So that's why we do discipline. It's really guidance. And they need it, and it's part of our responsibility as parents. We have to do that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. I don't know if you can cram a little bit more. I know you're already too crowded, but if you can come forward a little bit, I see still some people standing in the back. If you can't, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to sit on someone else's back. So, maybe let me finish with this great hadith and reminder from the Prophet ﷺ, because sometimes we don't have our priorities straight. And that really about priorities. Parenthood and being a good parent is about priorities. And many times, we got our priorities mixed up. The Prophet ﷺ told us in this hadith, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. One time he said that the best amongst you are the people who are best to their families. Like if you wonder who's the best Muslim, who's the best believer, and I'm telling you now, if you go and do a survey, go ask people, who do you think is the best Muslim? And people start stretching their heads, well, maybe the one we see coming to the masjid all the time, maybe the one we see like the look of Iman, as if Iman is now a look, like maybe with the longer turban or the abaya or the beard. I mean, or at least part of it is sunnah, no doubt, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying though, the criteria of the Prophet ﷺ is totally different. The Prophet said ﷺ, the best amongst you are the people who are best to their families. Now what happens usually, you bring your best when you come to the masjid. You're in a gathering, mashallah, people start praising you. Mashallah, he's such a good brother, such a good sister. She's so nice, she's so humble, he's so this and that. You go to the house, you become a disaster. Yelling and screaming. You become the worst of the human being. You become the worst possible. And this is totally the opposite of the prophetic model. The prophetic model, if you are really good, it shows in the house, not in the masjid, not in the coffee shop, not in the restaurant, not in any social gathering. If you are really a good man or a good woman, it's going to show in the house where no one is looking at you except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you think you are the dictator of the house and you sit on your mighty chair and you give out orders. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at you and deciding if you're a good man or good woman or not. خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. And then he said, I am the best to my family. So just keep that in mind. I want to make a final point, inshallah, before we close. Quickly. There is a very strong relationship between the family and the community. There cannot be a community without strong families. The family is the nucleus of the community. So if somebody comes and says, well, we don't have a good community, we don't have a strong community, the basic reason why is because we don't have a good or strong family. And vice versa. If you have a good community, it's going to help all the families. So please don't split between family and community. Both are important. Each and every one of us is responsible for a family, or most of us. And that's going to contribute to the strength of the community. Also, if you have good programs in the community, it's going to benefit all the families. Now, no one should take the priority over the other. For example, you can't say, well, I'm working for the community for a good cause. And in the process, you're neglecting your family. This is not acceptable. But also realize that if you want the community to prosper, you have to participate. And that will give back to your family. It will benefit your family. Inshallah, before I leave, and in line with what I said, I want to mention one organization because there is a banquet coming in, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after, November 7th. CARE will have a banquet, and to tie it to my topic, CARE is doing a phenomenal job when it comes to protecting our rights as a community, our civil rights, also speaking against Islamophobia. We know it's a very strong tide in this country right now. People talk and they don't even worry about Muslims anymore. They don't worry about the consequence of what they say. If it is about Islam and Muslims, they can say whatever they want and they don't have to worry about any consequences. Unlike any other group, by the way. So CARE is doing a marvelous job when it comes to protecting our civil rights and speaking on behalf of Islam and Muslims. So I want all of us to think about that and the fact that this is not just for the organization, it's really for the community and for our families. Because think about the following. Your kid's gonna grow up and they're gonna face all types of issues related to Islam and Muslims. They're gonna be sidelined sometimes. They're gonna be marginalized. They're gonna be, treated with bias and all types of, hatred in some cases. So if we don't work from now, to help alleviate this problem and to help solve this problem on a community level, it's gonna hurt each and every one of us. It's gonna hurt each and every family, each and every child you have in a family. I mean, if you're planning to live in this country, that is. Because this is the future of our children. This is the future of our children. So because of that, and if there is no other reason, because of this reason, the sake of your own family, your own children, do help this organization and organizations like it. This is part and parcel of our care for our family. And this is something that is strategic on a long term, yes, but we have to think long term as well. We cannot just focus on we cannot be selfish. Because if you just focus on your family and nothing else, like you have to worry about for example, the friends of your family, right? The friends of your children. That's part of raising your family. Because guess what? If you can't really find any good friends for your children, that is a problem too. So the problem is not limited just to your family. Even if you solve all the problems within your family, you still have to worry about the community. You still have to worry about the children of the other parents. So I want you to think that way and not be selfish and say, well, I'm taking care of my children, I'm doing the best, I'm good. No. Your kids are influenced and affected by everybody around them, primarily the Islamic community. So I hope that we have this long-term vision and that we think in this regard and we take all of that into account. اللهم ربنا لا تدع لنا في هذا اليوم العظيم ذنبا الا غفرته ولا هما الا فرجته ولا دينا الا قضيته ولا عدوا الا هزمته وقسمته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها الصلاح الا قضيتها لنا ويسرتها لنا يا ارحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه واله وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. اللهم ربنا ارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم ربنا علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا يا ربنا علما. نعوذ بالله من حال اهل النار. واقم الصلاة.